Yeah.
through or something.
Sneaking in.
Yeah, we go way back to meeting you in February. I just checked my notes,
Yeah.
and then March we got this notice that the whole thing was
Yes.
and I first was having it as my memory goes. I was looking at both your CVs, and Richard, I think I said you're the one who has the best chance, and
Yes.
Yes.
Tharine actually ended up as the
Yeah,
one.
actually, everyone said that I've got the best
Yeah,
chance
yeah.
to come over, but yeah, it shows you, eh?
That does, yeah. So, Richard and Tharine, Daniil, really great to be with you, and what a journey it's been. Mechanical engineer, occupational therapist. You both have made your mark in South Africa, young professional family, and you've made a decision to come. I've just got a little agenda here. I'll try to go by it then. Try to stick to that. So, could you introduce I guess this is for South Africans or other foreigners who are interested in the journey and specifically about the COVID journey, but also just the journey as well, I guess. Would that make sense? Is there anyone
Yeah.
else? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and so I guess family, city of origin, we did a little bit on the profession. Just anything you want to say about your background before we go further?
Okay. Yeah, I'm Richard. Studied mechanical engineering. I have about 11 years in experience in the industry, mostly in the chrome smelting industry. Yeah, I decided to come to New Zealand. It was about December of 2019, I think. And yeah. We got here 2 years after that, so COVID was a bit of a hurdle, but at the end we are here.
It worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
It worked out, yeah.
Yes. So I'm an occupational therapist. I had my own private practice in South Africa, mainly focusing on children with learning disabilities, and then also general practice to help people in our area. Got the opportunity to come over to New Zealand. Did a whole career change, not in occupational therapy as in itself, but I went into the vocational rehab side of things and also into community work, which I found very interesting, but we'll get later into the differences from working in South Africa and working here. But it was quite a big change in the occupational therapy industry to go from working with kids and then going straight into vocational rehab. But it's been interesting so far.
Let's set the stage like this. You have your life in South Africa. How would you describe your life back then if we go back? Because I know it's fresh, so it's quite good to catch you in the fresh moment before too much of the memory slips away. But what was the mood there when you were there, and how your decision to come to New Zealand? And I guess what I'm looking for is to see, has that played out generally? Have you met your expectations? Has New Zealand met your expectations?
I think, first off, safety. Safety was very important for us, and security as well for us and our whole family. I mean, in South Africa, we used to go about thinking what's going to go wrong each and every minute of the day. It doesn't matter where you go, that's always in your mind. And it's been a big change on this side because, I mean, it's not the same way, not at all. We're easing into it now, starting to feel a bit more safer, exploring more, living basically more free. Kids can play outside, without us having to check on them every 5 minutes. And I think you can, it's funny to see people walking in the streets and at night as well. So it's that change you had to make. But I think it's for the good. And it's refreshing to actually, be in a country that's still normal. Because in South Africa, you locked yourself up basically because you were scared for your own safety. So you can now spend time. There's a lot of beautiful parks in New Zealand. I mean, the kids can just be free. They can just run about and be kids. and not be locked into a house constantly, afraid for your own safety.
And I think there was a lot of tension happening, racial tension, economical tension, a lot of things that people, if they follow the South African news, we don't need to go into depth. But I think the riots that was now recently on the news is just a good example why we needed to get our kids out. Well, for us, it was a very important factor. We just wanted to give them an opportunity at life, so that they can study what they want to study, that they have the opportunities to become what they want to become, and in an environment that's safe, not a mom and dad that's constantly stressed. You can lose your job at any time. It's just there's just so much more than financial security and safety in New Zealand. There was a lot of other opportunities, education, like I said, a lot of opportunities for our kids. We spoke about it many times. If it was just me and Richard, we'd have probably tried and fight it out in SA, but our kids changed everything. And we have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then a 4-month-old baby. So we literally took on this journey with a newborn, and it was worth it. It's still tough, but for us, it's mainly they are the drive behind this whole move.
How about the children? Do they have any feedback about the differences? Do they miss certain things? Are they happy? Are they excited about being alone, playing outside?
Do you want me to comment on that?
Yeah, you can.
So they were very fearful in the beginning. It was quite strange and sad to see. Like, they didn't have that spontaneous just running and playing. They constantly checked with us, is it okay to be away from you?
Especially in the parks.
Yes.
In the parks where other people were and were about. So
they wanted you to stand next to them while they were sliding or swinging. So that was something that really took us, we were taken aback. We thought they had a bit of freedom, but we realized how boxed in they really were. Right. And, but I think they miss the house and the stuff that's familiar. Our dogs, grandparents especially, they will ask to speak to them on the phones. So that's a big thing. I think they miss the grandparents a lot. That's the big thing.
The family. Yeah, well, hopefully they'll be able to come and visit at least pretty soon.
Yeah, we hope so.
It was an interesting journey when we look back at, so I met you in February, the borders closed in March. Richard, I had said that you would be the winning ticket for the family to come in, most likely. I was completely wrong. You won, and it's because of such big changes. No one expected it, and I wasn't quick enough. I should have jumped on that. The medical thing changed dramatically, and you got the ticket in for the family. That must have been an amazing period for you when you were thinking, we've got a long time to wait. Oh, hold on a second. Could you go through that experience a little bit?
To be honest with you, so we decided to have our third child in South Africa in the COVID time. So I just gave birth to our third son, and I think I was a week out of the hospital, and he started applying for jobs because he went on all the skills that you taught him. He felt confident enough to take my CV and run with it the way that I just didn't have the nice the what do you call it, the video CV. But he did everything according to what you guys discussed, and he just started applying. And then it was within a week that we got so many responses, and I wasn't ready for it. I thought it's going to be 3 or 4 months, and everything just happened in 2-3 weeks.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I think we're still trying to catch our breath. Everything happened very fast. When we started the interview process, I think it was one night with you on interview when I said to him, listen, I've got my first interview. So it's happening. And then it was 1 week at the interview. The next week we got the job offer. The week after that, we got the visas and we were out.
And a week after that, we booked MIQ and then it was done.
So it happened very, very fast.
So you get to New Zealand, you land. First impressions. Everyone likes to hear first impressions. Did you have time for first impressions?
It Honestly, being in MIQ first, it felt the same. You didn't really feel like you're in a different country, except when I think when we got off at Auckland Airport, you could already see there's a lot of structure. There's the I don't know. It's clean. I don't know if it makes sense. What we saw driving to the hotel, it was very clean, and I think after getting out of MIQ, you could really now start to see the differences, which was, like I said, a clean, fresh air. It's actually strange how your body reacts to something that's clean, but we could feel it. All of us were like struggling with sinuses and stuff like that. It's not necessarily due to the cleanliness, but there was a long time that we struggled with sinuses, and it was I don't know. It felt the same when we were in MIQ, and sometimes still here. It feels it doesn't feel like you're in New Zealand. If you go driving about, then you pick it up.
That's the big thing. You get, as soon as you go outside of the cities and the smaller towns and you see the beauty this country has to offer, then you realize, oh my goodness, it's a beautiful country. It's so worth it being here. Yeah. It's really breathtaking. It's difficult to send photos because it doesn't capture what you see. Give it justice. The greenness of the grass was also something we've noticed driving from Hamilton down to Palmerston. It's green. It looks like, we call it back at home like a kuyu. It's like the grass that you will have your lawns. Your normal lawns is what the cattle and the sheep are grazing on. But like Richard said, it was very clean. No beggars, no... it was just very kept. There's no papers lying around. The gardens was maintained.
And I think the big thing was people were very friendly.
Yes.
Very friendly. I mean, and very strict as well. I mean, when we were in MIQ, I still remember, I think I slipped my toes over where the door is. And they told me to get back. And it was a big guy that told me that, and I'm not a small guy, but believe me, he was big, and I was like, okay, sir. so they are very rules counts for something, and you pick it up instantly. I mean,
it's a rule-abiding country.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the reasons why we chose New Zealand, is they stick to the rules. And I think the way COVID is being handled in the country in itself speaks for itself. They stick to the rules. The rules are there to be followed, and everybody's okay with it. Even the driving, everything just works.
Everything works.
It just works.
Yeah. So differences at the work experience. You were an occupational therapist in SA. You're occupational therapist now in New Zealand. Could you compare the two experiences?
I think SA really gave, it's also a very cultural diverse country, and New Zealand's also very culturally diverse. So that was quite similar. It's the clinical reasoning and all those skills that you need to do the clinical parts was all fine. It's quite similar. The models that's being taught, it's all the same. But the big difference for me was getting used to the culture of treating someone in their homes, going about how they want to be addressed. Just learning the New Zealand way when working with clients. That was a big thing, and still something that I learn every day as I go along. And then I changed into vocational rehab. So I had to learn the new systems, where we have a private and a public system quite prominent in South Africa. In New Zealand, you have the government system, and then you have medical insurance in between, but it's not the same as a full-on private medical like we are used to. And then there's also things called ACC that has this national insurance claims if you have non-injury at work or work or non-work related injuries. So that's something that I still learn and navigate through. So that's a big thing, to getting used to how a country's medical system fits and where you fit in as a therapist. So that is something that I need to get used to, and still, that's the big learning curve for me. But I like the new challenge and going into a new direction. So, but I would say that you can't say that vocational rehab in SA is quite the same that it is in New Zealand. It's quite different because of how the medical system is going. Yes.
How about work with you, Richard? The difference scale, I guess, is one of them.
Look, I think the perception sometimes might be that you work harder in South Africa than in New Zealand. It's more laid back, which I don't agree with now. I feel it's very much the same, even though there's a big drive for work-life balance, which was very important for us. Also for the decision we made to come here. New Zealanders in general and the employers family is important to them. The company where I was appointed now is big on family. It's a family business. And it's nice to know that you can talk to people and they trust you. You know, there's that how can I say this? It's that trust is just there. You don't have to gain it, or you don't have to earn it, or it's just there. People tend to believe you also, which in South Africa it sometimes felt like you must prove yourself first, or you must prove why your family needs you, if it makes sense. You must prove that, and it's like you tend to explain now more, and I mean your supervisor was fine with you saying, listen, I've got family issues to sort out, and that's in that sense it's I enjoy that. It's a different industry that I'm in currently now, more the food industry, which is fine. It's still a learning curve. I think today was my second day actually, so we're still at the beginning. But it's the difficult part, I think, is as a migrant coming from another country. I'm in a management role, so to gain those people's trust, and I mean, put yourself in their shoes. If I had a boss now, or I get a boss now from a different country, how am I going to feel about it? But I think initially to just sit down and talk to them like normal people, not talking from above, or just talking about it and making them aware that you understand where they come from, made a huge difference. They give you that respect. From the get-go, after you can talk like a normal person, and I mean it's human beings like me and you, and they will understand and they will give you a chance. That's the one thing in New Zealand I saw, that was giving they will give you a chance, and it was a process getting the actual the work. It was 3 interviews, assessments, all of that. So that's fairly the same as South Africa. It's still not easy. You must still prove yourself. But I think all in all, it's still hard work. That hasn't changed. It's still giving your all. And I can already see that even small things now, that thankfulness is already there. It's kind of like people that they can see, they can basically see that you're going to add value already, and they appreciate it already.
They better be able to see it after vetting you for so long.
So it's exciting, but it's different. But like I said, it's a mindset. I think you must just be open-minded about it, and just take it as it comes.
Yes, without too much preconceptions. Just be willing to adapt to the flow. There'll be positives, there'll be negatives. Don't pre-decide anything. Just go with it. Yeah, interesting. Congratulations on both of you. You found, Tharine, the background that applies here, and luckily it's the foundational stuff. And you're getting to know another country, which is the beauty of travel, I guess. You get to learn those new things. So that's really great. And then Richard, congratulations. Wow. To the management level from day one. That is not easy. And you've done really well to prove yourself there. Plus, another one, moving from huge, large-scale, heavy industry into foods. That's also a big jump for locals, a big jump. Because sometimes, and to the credit of your employers, sometimes employers will have blinders on. But you've either it was your doing or they're sometimes people will look for outsiders, and they actually appreciate someone coming in with different knowledge from a different industry. I don't know how that was for you, but it sounds like a fantastic journey so far.
It has been.
It hasn't been easy, to be honest. Not look. There was days when we thought, was this the right decision? It will come. Just for everybody out there thinking about it, it will come. You must be certain about that. And I think you must just push through. It gets easier as you go along. It gets easier. But yeah, it's the big picture that counts. You must always remember why you took the big step.
Right. So for families that are coming over here or thinking about it and wondering, what are you talking about? What are those things that I'm going to feel, whether it's even worth it or not? I'm hearing all the good stuff and I don't hear any other stuff. So what are some of the things that people can expect to be confronted by? Maybe it's general things like frustration, or maybe it's specific things like certain aspects of the culture. I don't know. Any advice you would have for people?
First, I would say do a lot of research. There's a lot of Facebook groups that are good. They will ask questions. Not always positive stuff will come through. Get an idea what it's really about, and have a clear view why you want to come over. If you're just coming over with one food in SA and one food in New Zealand, don't do it. It's costing you a lot of money. If you have to decide, like we made a decision, this is for the kids. We have to make it work. Whether we want to or not, we're not taking them back to that country. We love South Africa with all our heart, and that will never change. But there is no future currently for our kids. And that's our point of view. It's a personal view. But it is expensive coming over with rands converting to New Zealand dollars. You will feel like you're literally taking all your savings in South Africa that you've been building up for the last 15 years, and you'll basically use all of it to get here. I think it might have been easier before COVID, but now it's much more difficult. Even if the borders are going to open, we saw stuff that made it easier for us is we decided to go with agents. That's also a personal thing. You don't have to, it's not a must. It's just what worked for us because there's so many new rules and changes. And for us, we just felt it's already hard to find a job and bringing young kids in. I can't deal with paperwork as well. So that was another thing that made it easier for us. But it is a big concert. It is a big sacrifice. You are leaving loved ones behind. You are leaving a whole culture behind. You are leaving what's familiar to you behind. And it's not always bad in SA. Everything wasn't bad. And so many times with my new colleagues, I would say, we had it good in SA. Certain things was lovely. Stuff was even better than some of the things in New Zealand. But then there's stuff that's so bad that we as a family couldn't see past it.
And the main thing that we didn't want to wait for something bad to happen before we make the decision. I know a lot of people will make the decision based on if something happened recently, but we didn't want to wait for that. We watched the news, and it was a personal decision. I think another thing that frustrated us a little bit was, I think initially if you get a job and everything, then it feels like you must be here already. But then you still have the challenges of booking MIQ, which was a big setback for us. If I can, the visas came quickly. It was about a week. And then
For
we
the
had,
critical purpose
for the
visa.
critical
Yes.
purpose visa. And then we had to book MIQ and basically the airplane tickets just after that, because you can't do the one without the other. And I literally sat down for 2 days refreshing that page to get an opening. And I mean, we got to opening a week after we actually got the visas. So we were very lucky. But another thing that was a bit of a frustration was we initially thought when we landed here, we applied straight away for our works visas. Tharine was the main visa holder, so the agents applied for essential skills visa, and myself for partner works visa, and that took 61 days to be exact, which can put a lot of stress on your family if you only have one salary. I couldn't do anything basically. You want to put your kids in the schools, and that's very expensive. Doctors, you can't register with any doctor, so everything is out of your own pocket.
And you had a job
you
offer
are paying.
that we're not allowed to go to, if I'm not mistaken, at that time, waiting.
Yes. And I mean, you can't. It's difficult with using rands in New Zealand. It's very expensive. So that was a little bit of frustrating side of it, waiting for the visas. And I mean, you don't know how far the process is. You've got no idea. You're in the dark. So
you're in the system. So they just keep you and say, listen, you're in the queue. You wait until you have a case manager. But it could be that it might be that it will open up quicker now, because there was a lot of changes with the work visas happening, and that came into play now the 19th. So hopefully that will get the backlog going again, and hopefully, so that shouldn't put people off. But it is just an indication what can happen, stuff that you didn't foresee, and then you realize, what were we thinking? 3 babies coming over, starting a new job. Mom is at work the whole day. Dad's taking a bit of a mom role. It's a lot of up and down. And I think you come in and it's just going to be a holiday. We only start to feel like it's a holiday now. Now that everything is starting to take flight, kids are settling in their new school. Another thing that was also very stressful for us is finding a rental. It's very expensive to find a rental. You have to pay in advance for 2 months rent that gets deposit, like a deposit. Then you have to do the zoning. We are not used to that in SA. You can put your child in a school that you like. And coming from an occupational therapy side, I wanted to have my kids in schools that has the standard that I'm used to, because we have good schools and the kids were in very good schools in South Africa. I missed the primary school pre-primary school that Richard was in. So, but then we were lucky and we found nice ones here as well. But the school, he's turning 5 end of the year. So we were immediately told, listen, have you enrolled? Did you put him on a waiting list? Do you know of this? Do you know that he needs to go to school when he's turning 5? And then all of a sudden, there's zones. So now you don't get to pick any rental in your city. Now you have to pick a rental that's in the zone if you want to have your child in that school to make the odds. So that's also stressful. And I think you just, if you don't read up on this, if you don't know about this, another thing that was also stressful for us is finding a doctor. You don't have the choice of going to a GP that you like. You have to take a GP that has a space open for you. Otherwise, you're not in the medical system. So it's a few things that you have to trust and just go with. This is how it's being done in New Zealand, and it's okay. And we had to make a decision. Yes, we enrolled Richard at a school that we want him to get into. But if that doesn't happen, there's still a few good schools. Most of the schools are good in New Zealand. It's more a preference, either religion or cultural based. But generally, the schools, it's not a high or a very low like we used to in South Africa. It's most of them are here, and then you have a few good ones and maybe a few lower ones, but it's not far from the middle. So that was stuff that's really stressful. And then another thing, you don't have family support. We could just drop the kids at granny if they got sick and we can continue with work. Now we have to take our sick leave and keep it until the kids needs us to stay at home to take care of them. So that support, it's really difficult. Yes, you try as a South African group, try to support one another, but most of us are also trying to just find our way here. So it's not trying to be rude, but you can only give so much support, but you also have to keep your family standing. So yes, that's some of the more difficult things happening in New Zealand. But there is you can make friends, and there is a lot of people, New Zealanders, South Africans, are open, willing to help you. We had so many people asking us, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you want us to come and help you with X, Y, and Z?" So it is all good, but it does have stressful elements. And I think one should just keep that in mind. And everybody's experience is different. Some people will have it lucky with certain things, and others will have that as the most stressful part. I mean, visas for us was very stressful. And people before COVID, they had it before they got into the country. So that was never an issue. But then maybe they struggled with not finding the right doctor or not getting to the school. And I think it's difficult if your kids are older, because then you have a real stress regarding getting them quickly into a school and settled. So I think that makes it interesting, is the journey for everyone is different. Not making one thing better or worse. It's just, that's our stresses.
Looking back at all these challenges, now I understand the depth. I don't think I've ever heard anyone put all that together in a package before, but I can see where it would layer on top of each other, and you think, when is this going to stop? And my endurance is giving in. I mean, at times...
Tate, I told Tharine the other day, it feels like you're always waiting for something. I mean, now, and people must keep that in mind. You're waiting for a date for MIQ. You are basically waiting for your visa. You're waiting to apply for residency. You're waiting again for permanent residency. So it's a difficult journey. But like I said before, if you've got that big picture in mind, then if you focus on that, and I mean, in everything that comes with it, all the positives, you can focus on the positives. Because I think still people tend to focus on the negatives and more like they are comparing the two countries, which I don't think you must do. And I think they sometimes maybe miss the idea of what's good in South Africa, and that's what they are focusing on. And I think they must just focus on what's good here, which I think makes a huge difference.
Well,
we are privileged.
Sorry?
We are privileged to be here. It is, we are really, really privileged.
Yeah, I think everyone feels that who's here, including locals. Most locals as well appreciate that. Let's get into some of the positives that you see here as well, and maybe this can help. As you were talking, I was thinking, you've gone over such a huge bump, and you may not realize that. I hope what I say turns out to be true, but you may not realize that the hard part is over, because now you both have work bases, you have a place of residence, you have children settled more or less, and you're starting to find your feet more solidly on the ground with work. Once that's done, you've got double income, which in New Zealand is a world of difference, because the incomes are, like the schools, the incomes are also like that. So you will be traveling, you'll be having more time together. You can schedule those work-life balance days together and with the family. So, and you will be waiting in a sense for the permanent residency, but in another sense, you're just cruising along, and you know that date is, you sort of know when that date is. So, and then
I think the hard part is over.
Yes.
When did you realize that you had made it? Because you mentioned to me when we had a phone call, Richard, it was recently. So what was that moment like? What was the moment?
I think basically it was the day which we received the visas. where we knew, listen, now we are okay. Because it took so long, and you read up and you hear stories and you speak to people. Yeah, some people wait 4 to 5 months, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to basically balance your small rands that you've got left, and how you're going to do everything with the one salary that's coming in. And I think that big mountain fell off your shoulders as soon as I got the call that, listen, your visas, you can start to work. And that changed everything basically. There was wine flowing that evening, because it just felt like, and I still remember, we said to each other, now our lives can start. Once we knew that was finalized, and we knew that was the start of everything, basically.
I think that's what's happening now with COVID. It's changing everything the wrong way around. So if you just got the job and you got the visa while you were still in your country, you were good. You can come in and you can just live. Where you come in, only one can work, and then you have to wait and apply for jobs, and then hopefully in that area, you find something. So it's a bit more added stress, I would say.
Yes, and what added to it, I actually received the job offer about a month before I received my works visa. So the company luckily was willing to wait and give us a chance. Same with the schools, which helped us a lot, accommodating us in that aspect. So that put additional stress on it, because now you don't know, are they going to wait for me? Am I going to lose this job? I've already gone through this whole journey of getting the work. So it's.
So yes, when we got our visas, we took a breath in and say, it's done.
Right. So I was really glad to hear that story that Richard, you were able to go to work for Tharine using the systems that we talked about, and you felt confident enough to make it happen. And I'm really glad that it came through for you, Tharine. So Richard, when you came here, what did the stuff that we did together, did that help you find work in New Zealand?
So to be honest, it made a big difference. I can still remember. I always, like, for the first interview, I kept it in my pocket, and I was waiting for that question every time that I had an interview. It was like my secret gun that I had, the work that we did. So I knew the question was coming up for what makes you stand out, what makes you different. And that was the ammunition, I think, personally, that made the difference, was to say, listen, I've got a video CV. You go and have a look. It basically explains my whole career. It's basically a first interview. Go and have a look. And then every time they heard about it, they were like, in some way shocked, because they've never seen something like that. And you can hear the excitement in their voices to actually go and have a look now. I'm sure most of them were having their lunch while watching a movie or something. So it was that, and all of them said, okay, we'll pass it on to basically the managers that makes the decisions. And all of them watched it. I actually asked them what they thought about it, and they said, listen, that gave us a bit of perspective of where you come from. And because you get a lot of people applying, and I think that gives you that personal connection with them, and that uncomfortable stuff is out of the way, to get to know someone and to see how they talk, how they are, basically reading their whole body language. So that was, and when we got to the interviews, I could feel it, they could feel it, that you were already comfortable. I mean, there was already, okay, I kind of know you, but I don't know you. There was that feeling. And I think that just changed everything. It made it even with the directors in my last interview, from the get-go, it was comfortable. And you can see it from their side as well. So yeah, thanks for that, Dave. It made a huge difference. I still think that because I know we were a couple of good candidates, but I think that might have pulled me through, because now they could see visually where I come from and what industry and the size of the industry and the size of the project visually. Yeah, and basically who you are. The visual aspect was there. I mean, there's a lot of CVs lying on HR's table, but there's not that much visual,
if any,
visual CVs out there.
Well, it was a pleasure to put that together with you, Richard. You have a depth of experience that was interesting to bring out, and it's the kind of things that we really need here in New Zealand. So that's what attracted me to your profile, and I'm really glad that you found me. And Tharine, I didn't get a chance to work with you, but I guess Richard did that for me.
No, there was a lot of influence. There was a lot of influence.
I can honestly say he did everything. When you guys did the interview questions, you run him through the whole thing.
Even LinkedIn, all of that.
All the LinkedIn. I was really chilled about, well, when once we get here, then I will start the journey to look for a job, because I would first need to see where he gets a job before I can go out looking for a job. But
I basically felt like a good PA.
He was a good PA.
Telling you've got this interview coming up, do A, B, C, and D, and then you should be fine.
We did use your stuff as a guideline, and it did help.
Skills, yeah.
I wasn't lucky to have a video CV, but all the other stuff still, it made a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, Richard, that's really great that you could become a PA for your wife for the sake of your family. You had 40 guys under you before in Glencore?
Yeah.
Amazing. What a journey it's been. What are some of the positive things that you look forward to? It may be a little bit unfair for me to ask, what are the positive things you think about New Zealand? Because it's still quite fresh, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the travel. Yeah. We can't wait to explore these two islands. And we're always making the joke, we are not leaving these two islands until we are citizens. With COVID happening, we are not leaving. It was way too hard to get it. But there's so much stuff to explore. Yeah. Even if my colleagues at work start to talk about the different places and all this nice stuff that you need to go and see, and you have to try this food, and when you go to that part of the island. So I think we're really excited to actually now, the stress is off, we can actually start to do small weekend trips, driving around. So we are really excited of the new adventure that actually started a week ago.
Well, let me promote my little region here. Nelson has national parks around. Abel Tasman is a place so beautiful. If you drop your camera and a picture is accidentally taken, it's going to be like a postcard, because it's
we'll definitely come and say hi.
Yeah.
And then another positive thing. Oh my word, I love this country with all its coffee. Yeah. There is coffee on every corner, and it's great. It's good quality coffee regardless where you buy it. So that was also something. I've never had so much coffee in my life, but I enjoy it.
And the sake of being free, have you found yet the sort of additional energy, or have you had a mental shift? Let's say walking outside. Have you adjusted yet? Do you always lock doors still by reflex?
We do. I think it will be with us for a while. I don't leave my phone on the table at work or stuff like that. And you know, the other day I actually forgot the keys in the car, and I was on my way to bed, and I was looking for the keys, because I normally keep the keys in the room where we sleep, because I'm scared somebody might come in and take the keys and take the car or something like that. And the keys were still locked in, or not locked, but were still in the car. And I just froze. And, you know, then you start to realize it's okay. There's no burglar bars. There's no big gates. I mean, our house doesn't even have a gate in front. It's open. And that in itself is strange. It's not something we're used to. So I think it might still take us some time.
Sure.
But it's nice to know that you're okay.
There is a peace of mind.
Yeah.
Peace of mind comes, yeah.
Yes.
It's a good adjustment to go that way. Imagine us poor people if we would go to South Africa and try to adjust to that. Endless bump. The bump never finishes; it continues. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. It's been an honor to work with you. I'll tell you, this work that I have, I'm so lucky because I'm helping great people change their life. And I know my role is small. The bigger part is obviously the clients take on and put it on their shoulder, and it's the risk, it's the weight, it's the finances. But I do enjoy my role, and I'm glad to give whatever I've got to make you have a better life if it's influencing that in a positive direction.
Yeah.
It does.
I'm glad to hear that it's done.
And that's another thing that just came up. I know our phone calls wasn't that successful. You might not think it's that successful, but during that time, you taught me how to speak to New Zealand people. And one tend to think it's easy, but there's a different way to approach New Zealand people. There's a different way of addressing them, having that respect to know what New Zealand people want to show your respect. And through the phone calls, that was one of the skills I picked up. And I still remember that first telephonic interview we had in MIQ. It all came to me quite easily. And you can hear it from the other side. You can just hear it. You don't have to see it. And so there's a lot. There's a lot of tools you gave us, which I also passed on to Tharine in her interviews and stuff. So thank you.
Yes.
We from our whole family.
Hearts,
yeah,
yes.
you made a big difference. You had a big role to play. Don't think you didn't. You had a big role to play. Yeah.
I don't think it might feel to you that it's a small beginning part, but if we didn't have our jobs, and if Richard didn't get his dream job because he thinks it's a dream job, we wouldn't have the smiles on our faces and this, okay, now we can relax. We would still be very pressured, even if the visas came through. I think the skills that you taught Richard and he was able to pass on to me made the beginning of the journey so much easier.
Yeah.
So if we didn't have that, we would still be stuck. So thank you very much. You really, really made a huge difference in our journey.
Well, I'm going to be blushing soon, so stop before I start crying.
Hopefully tears of joy.
It would be. Yeah. No, thank you. That's really great. So once again, I live in Nelson. We've got a place here that's quite nice to visit. If it's sunny, come when it's sunny, and you'll enjoy it.
No, we will definitely. We from the beginning we spoke about that cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I told you it's not going to be only one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's great. I look forward to that. Thank you so much for your time here and the energy and the thoughts that you put forward. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people benefiting from this. Coming here is the biggest challenge of someone's life, usually, an immigration. And in this case, coming from where you're coming, in the time that you came and how you came, you were juggling. You were juggling a lot of things.
Yeah.
And there was times when you may have wondered whether it was going to work out, but would you do it all over again knowing what you know?
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay, great. That's all.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Will I go through all the stress? Yes. But we love our country, but it is worth having all the perks that New Zealand has to offer.